That's what surprised them the most. Your steady trust in things you couldn't yet see. They once called you unrealistic. Now they see you as someone special and blessed. That's how God works. He turns the story around when no one expects it. They remembered how you stayed kind, even when others treated you badly, how you gave more than you ever got back. At first, they saw that as a weakness. They thought you were too sensitive, too gentle. But now they understand. Your gentleness was actually a hidden strength. They watched you help others feel better while you were still hurting inside. They were amazed when they finally got it. You weren't just getting through the day. You were serving a special purpose from God. Your pain had a real reason. And the moment they saw God working through your actions, your smile, and even your quiet times, it broke apart every wrong idea they had about you. You weren't weak at all. You were chosen to carry a strength that not everyone can see or understand. Now they know the truth, and they can't forget what God just showed them. Let's take a quick pause right here. If you're still reading this, it means something inside you is being confirmed by heaven in this moment. You were never just like everyone else. God is guiding you, even in the quiet times. If this message feels meant for you, if your heart is beating faster and it connects deep down, subscribe now to stay connected with more messages heaven is sending. These aren't just words. This is your sign. They tried to compare you to other people. They judged how far you'd come by everyday standards. But they didn't realize your path wasn't made by the world. It was planned by God in heaven. Now, when they see you receiving good things they can't explain, they're left speechless. They can't figure out how you went from being overlooked to someone no one can forget. It wasn't luck. It was part of God's plan all along. Every delay was God keeping you safe. Every no was leading you to something better. The person who once looked down on you now looks up to you. They see you weren't falling behind. You were simply waiting for God's perfect timing. And that changes everything. They tried to say you were finished. They said you wouldn't last, that you didn't have what it takes. But you didn't fight back with words. You stayed true to your path and let God handle it. Now they're stunned. Not just that you made it through, but that you did it without anger, without trying to get even, and without needing to prove anything. You let kindness and grace do the talking, and that spoke louder than any harsh words ever could. They're shocked because they thought your story was over, but you were only at the start. Now God is turning what they expected to be sadness into real miracles. The big surprise: you are the living proof they'll tell others about, and they won't even know how to explain it. They knew about your past. They talked about it quietly, judged you for it, and laughed when no one was listening. But they forgot something important. God doesn't need perfect people. He uses the hurt, the imperfect, and the ones others ignore, and He turns them into people who carry His strength. That's what surprised them most. They thought your past would trap you, but God used it as the starting point for your special purpose. The things you believed made you unfit are exactly what qualify you in God's eyes. And when they saw that you, the one they made fun of, were being lifted up by God, they were shaken. God's favor doesn't need anyone's approval. Your life just proved that to them. They're seeing real healing and change happen right now. They can't explain it anymore. They sit quietly, watching your life grow and bloom in places they thought were empty and hopeless. They keep asking, "How did this happen?" But you know the answer. It wasn't by chance. It was God's hand at work, the same hand that held you during your lonely tears, the same hand that pulled you up every time life tried to pull you under. That person now sees what you always knew inside. There was something different about you. You weren't made like everyone else. You were chosen for a journey that doesn't make sense to the world, but fits perfectly with God's plan. And now that the good results are showing, now that your rewards are clear for all to see, the one who ignored you can't deny what you carry inside. You're not just lucky. You're living in step with God's perfect plan. And they're completely amazed. They remembered the day they told you that you were too much, too deep, too emotional, too intense. What they didn't understand back then was that you weren't too much at all. You were full, overflowing with purpose from God. That inner fullness couldn't be made smaller or quieter just to fit into someone else's limited view. The very qualities they criticized are now the ones that draw people toward you. Your sensitivity turned into real strength. Your emotions became your guide. Your honesty became your fire. The person who once judged you wrongly is now trying to keep up because they finally see they missed something special, a true miracle. They expected you to stay in the background and fade away. But God called you to shine brightly. Now they're seeing it happen. In the past, people walked right by you without a second look. Your quiet nature made them think you had nothing important to say. But being quiet doesn't mean you're empty. Often it means you have great depth. When God finally let your true light shine through everything that tried to hold you back, it became impossible to ignore. The person who used to overlook you now feels the strong presence you carry. Not because you became someone different, but because you grew into the person God always planned for you to be. They can't ignore it anymore. They can't pretend they don't see it. Your very existence challenges their old ideas. You were the one God placed in a hidden spot, the kind of powerful person most people never expect to find. They were surprised when they heard others speaking well of you, praising your kindness, your generosity, and your strong faith. They couldn't understand how other people saw what they had missed. That's how God's favor works. It opens eyes. It puts your name in conversations without you trying. Now the person who once took you for granted watches as others honor the same heart they once treated carelessly. They're learning the truth a little late, but it's hitting them hard. God takes care of His children. When He decides to lift you up, even those who ignored you can't deny your light anymore. That moment when it all clicked for them, it struck deep inside. They thought they knew exactly who you were and what you could do, but how could they possibly understand a soul that God Himself carefully shaped? Every time you fell and got back up, they were amazed and confused. They didn't know how you managed it. They thought it must be luck or chance. But when they saw the calm peace that stayed with you even in the hardest times, they realized it wasn't something people create. It came from God. The same person who once rolled their eyes at your dreams now watches those dreams come true right in front of them. They can hardly believe it, but the proof is clear. You were the surprise they never saw coming. You kept loving even after people hurt you. You kept giving even when you had almost nothing left for yourself. They thought you were being foolish, but now they get it. Love was your real power. Forgiveness was your strength. And faith was what held you steady. They watched you go through things that would have broken most people, yet you came out stronger and brighter. That brightness wasn't just on the outside. It came from deep inside, from a soul that angels had carried through the storm. Now that person sees it plainly. The one they doubted is now leading with light. You were God's hidden treasure all along, revealed at just the right moment. That realization changed them forever. They used to call you too quiet. They said you didn't stand up for yourself. But you weren't being weak or passive. You were being protected. You knew who was really fighting for you. When they finally understood that your silence wasn't weakness but wise trust, they were stunned. You let God take care of what you couldn't handle alone. And now, with the results showing everything they thought would defeat you has instead lifted you higher, they can't argue with it anymore. You had a spiritual plan, waiting calmly while others panicked, trusting heaven when the world gave no reason for hope. Now, the same people who laughed at your faith are watching your victory unfold. People thought they knew who you were. They watched you closely and talked about you quietly among themselves. But they missed something important. Heaven always understood your true nature. You weren't just an ordinary person going through life. You were specially chosen by God. Even though challenges and hard times surrounded you, you carried an inner light, even when darkness tried to pull you down. Then, one day, this person finally saw the truth. They realized God had given you special favor and protection. It shocked them deeply. They were amazed by your inner strength, surprised by your calm grace, and stunned to learn that heaven had marked you for something important all along. They never thought they would meet someone so special, someone with a quiet but powerful purpose given by God. But now they see it clearly. They feel the importance of it and can't forget what they witnessed in you. In their minds, this wasn't supposed to happen. They had assumed you would give up. They expected you to break under the pain of disappointments and betrayals. But when God is in control of your life, those old ideas turn out to be wrong. They stood there in surprise, watching you come through every difficult situation without being destroyed. They whispered, "How did they make it through?" The answer wasn't just you. It was God's angels standing with you, supporting your spirit, and helping you when you felt too weak to go on. When that person understood you were never truly alone, that God had always been guiding your path, they felt humbled. You weren't like everyone else. You were protected, led, and blessed in a special way. That truth hit them hard, like a sudden flash. You carried something holy inside you. They remembered times when they ignored you or judged you because you stayed quiet, gentle, and patient. They mistook your silence for weakness and your kindness for being too trusting. But they never wondered why you could stay so peaceful while everything around you felt chaotic. They didn't realize your calm came from God. In those quiet moments, God was saying to you, "Be patient. I'm working things out." When they finally saw that you weren't acting out of fear but out of strong faith, their wrong ideas about you fell apart. They were shocked that the hard times didn't break you. They actually made you stronger and better. Now they look at you with respect and wonder. The person they thought would fail has become the one who rises above everything. Even in the darkest nights, when you cried alone thinking no one noticed, an angel was recording your name in heaven's book. The same person who once overlooked your struggles is now seeing who you really are. God is showing them your true heart, not the outer image you sometimes tried to keep up, but your real, sacred soul. They're surprised because what they saw as just another person healing turned out to be someone God uses to bring about amazing things. When God chooses someone, He doesn't wait for other people's approval. He simply acts. Now this person is learning what heaven already knew. You are the one who breaks old negative patterns, changes family stories for the better, and touches lives, often without even speaking loudly. They underestimated you, but God never did. There was a time when they laughed, not happily, but in disbelief. When you shared your dreams or moved forward with hope, they thought it was just wishful thinking. They couldn't see the strong foundation God was building under your steps. But now, they're amazed because the things you believed in and spoke about with faith are starting to come true right in front of them. They see you growing into something they never thought possible. The person they once doubted is now the one heaven is highlighting. And you didn't force it to happen. You simply kept going, kept believing, and kept trusting God.